Ron here for Terrible Terrible Damage, bringing you a ZVZ on Korhal Compound. So in the bottom left we have our red Zerg, and that is Jiang. And in the upper right we have our blue Zerg InE, or InE. I'm going to go with InE since he capitalized the E. And I'm just going to go with Jiang because that's my best guess as well. I probably have them both wrong, but close enough. So this will be on Korhal Compound ZVZ, and we have, of course, a 6 pool. So this is a Gold League ZVZ game, and we'll see how this plays out. Won't be a ZVZ without an early pool. On the opposite end of things, InE, without a pool as of yet, but he's only up to 10 supply. He does have the Overlord building. Actually waited right up until 10 to build that. A bit late. Usually you build that on 9. No extractor trait either, so that's a bit interesting. Goes for gas on 10 before pool. So this is an interesting build. Looks like he's most likely going to go with a 10 pool behind this extractor. No, 3 more drones. So I'm not sure about how early that extractor is. I don't think that's actually very efficient, not putting down the pool as of yet. In the meantime, the pool is done for Jiang, and we'll see how effective he can make this. We don't have any drones so far going with this. I think if you're going to go for the 6 pool, you pretty much have to at least try and bring 1 drone. The element of that of the spine crawler definitely puts a clock on things. That's very important. But going around the side here, on the upside, it prevents your opponent from being ready. On the downside is slowing down an attack that is entirely based on doing it very quickly. So we'll see how well that works out. He's definitely not ready for it, but here comes the engagement. The drones immediately just run away. Some haphazard targeting there from Jiang, but now finds the spawning pool and goes to work on that. However, he has to be careful not to get trapped back here. And here come 2 more drones. 6 Zerglings about to finish. And once these are done, I'll expect InE to attack with everything. And here he goes. 2 more Zerglings going out. That will bring the count in the main to about 8 to 6. But here come a few more Zerglings, and the count is getting a bit out of control for Jiang. No mining going on right now. Going to try and put down a spine crawler. This is not looking best, but he traps 3 Zerglings there. 1 manages to get away amazingly, and this is kind of all over the place. Loses a drone there, but that's okay. He's definitely got the advantage in drone count. Not engaging in a good position there, straight up. Wants to get more of a surround on this with his superior unit count. But a lot of Lings were staying back and not joining the fight, and that may come back to hurt Jiang here as InE gets another chance to build up some resources and even up the army count. Going to put down another spine crawler. Not in the best position in terms of being able to get that up though, because it's very hard to engage there, but the queen does finish. And Jiang really needs to get out of there, but now trying to go after that queen, gets surrounded, loses the remainder of his drones. But here comes 6 more Zerglings, going to again go for that queen, but needs to be careful not to get surrounded once again. Doing a very good job denying a lot of mining time as InE keeps pulling off. So despite having that very low drone count right now of only 9, he has snuck in some drones during this time. He hasn't really fallen so far behind in economy during that time because most of those drones that InE had have not been mining. More pressure going on, but there's not really much more that Jiang can do here, and the game is beginning to normalize. We have 12 drones to 11, both on 1 base. No tech going for either side. We don't have metabolic boost started. Actually going immediately into 1 base lair. That is a really odd decision. It's going to be with any layer tech, it's very hard to get enough gas to make it worthwhile off of a single base. So starting that now is not going to be a lot of use. It gets it ahead, but I'm not sure how effective that would be as opposed to delaying it a bit more for a better economy. In the meantime, Jiang just starting to get gas now. So, of course, he does not have any tech such as Zergling Speed either. I would like to see metabolic boost out of InE. He does now have 100 gas, 100 minerals. That's what I'd like to see next. Knowing his opponent had 6 pool, he has to know that he could have had a jump on that. And now Jiang looking to take his expansion. Going to be up 2 base to 1, so Jiang will actually move into an economic advantage here, while InE will have the actual tech advantage with the layer complete. We'll have to see what he goes into. As would be expected here, going right into the Spire, so I'm going 1 base Muta. I assume it's 1 base Muta. It would be kind of weird to go one base Broodlord or build Corruptors for some reason. So expect 1 base Muta, I think, is a safe call here on InE. Now what we have to see is if Jiang will scout this. Off 1 base, you can build up a decent amount to, say, build 5 to 8. Build up a count relatively quickly of like 5 to 8 mutas, but you have nothing else. You really don't have anything else. So, if it goes unscouted, that many mutalisks can pose a big problem. But if they're scouted, then you can just die to Zerglings because you really don't have the defense on the ground to hold off the onslaught while your opponent just throws up a few spores and is fine. So risky strategies on both sides. We're seeing 2 spine crawlers go down. Haven't seen any scouting out of either side since the early aggression with that 6 pool. So that's something I would like to see. Would like to see some a Zergling or 2 move out and try and get into that main. It is more difficult when you don't have metabolic boosts completed, which looks like InE is actually skipping entirely. But given he's going for that 1 base Mulus play, I actually kind of like that call because you're counting on your opponent not attacking on the ground anyway. So saving that extra gas, getting 1 extra Muta that much more quickly makes sense. But Jiang has not scouted at all, and I think that is a problem. He knows that there is no expansion at the natural, so he has to know something is up. Evo Chamber just started, is in the only halfway done now as the mutas come in. They'll take out 1 Overlord. 3 mutas will not be enough to take out 2 Queens though, so that will not be that much of a threat. As long as he pulls up the other Queen, which is not moving right now, so he can lose this. And he does, and now it's going to start to be a problem because that 1 Queen's the only thing delaying, and more mutas can stream in here. 4 started now. We'll lose, oh, not target firing the correct Mutalisk. He could have killed that 1. Instead, all 3 stay alive. There we go, 1 goes down. That Queen can focus down another 1 if those Mutalisks decide to hang around, but the Queen not moving into position. Got a couple roaches, a few Zerglings there. Now starting to take the expansion. I'm not sure why Jiang is not countering here, but InE is taking the utmost advantage of it, picking off Overlords, more drones. The Spore Crawler is almost done. InE needs to get out of there. There's no way he's going to deny that Spore Crawler, and the Queen does complete. And those mutas will leave. 4 more in the middle of the map, though. And if we look at the state of the game right now, 26 drones for InE, 20 for Jiang. So InE now with the expansion up, better drone count, is looking in a much better position. However, has to be careful not to lose mutas here. Loses 2. Almost 3. Got to be careful again. 1. with good target firing, could lose another Mutalisk here, but no targeting going on. Loses another. That was not the best trade. Only took out an Overlord or two. Does supply block Jiang, but lost several Mutalisks in the process. Jiang, however, is behind in drone count right now. InE aggressively taking expansions. The problem with this is, while it's nice to have the third up, InE really does not have the drone count right now, especially as he hasn't actually transferred any drones. But Jiang, in the position he's in, has started to build Hydralisk, but really needs a better economy before moving into that, and it's just falling further and further behind in that regard. 42 drones now for InE to 19 of Jiang. And this is starting to become a near impossible hurdle to cross. We'll need to have a really good engagement. Needs drones or an all-in sometimes. Starting to build drones. But still, not really much in the way of scouting from either side. There was a scout on that third, but he knows nothing on the inside of the main. That's how those Mutalisks caught him off guard. Has not seen anything in that natural. Has no idea of drone saturation. So it's looking very difficult for Jiang. Not a lot of information. Definitely behind in economy. See what he decides to do to try and come back in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Banelings morphing beneath 5 Mutalisks. Not the biggest army pushing out here, but here comes some roaches to reinforce that. 4 Lings moving up, and these armies are actually going to avoid each other entirely, which is fortunate for Jiang, who has the much weaker army in this position right now. However, on the downside, it's going to be in a tough position in terms of a base race. Does have 2 spine crawlers here, but that's not enough to hold up to this army, this Roach Muta Baneling army. However, the third is going to go down here for InE. But again, not a big deal. 42 drones on the field. Doesn't really have the drones to saturate 3 bases anyway. The only downside is that he is beginning to get mined out in his main. So that is a bit of a problem. But no third for Jiang, so it's not as if that makes him fall behind. Losing all of his mutas here. And all 3 Banelings detonate on the roaches. So 3 roaches survive. The army pulling back. These drones now moving away. 42 drones to 26. But overall, the engagement at the natural, as well as taking out the third, this really has gone in Jiang's favor and helped a little bit in terms of getting back into this game. Infestors now out on the field for Jiang. So a very high-tech, low-econ game going on here. Not dealing with these final 2 roaches, though. Sends 1 roach in. That's a little weird. Response time a little slow there. We do have 7 roaches sitting over here on InE's side. Not really, just hanging out, not doing much. If you look at the army supply right now, Jiang's actually in the lead. So a push out here could potentially do damage, or he could take the opportunity to try and get back into the game economically. Another push in here should not work for InE. Trying to attack into this is going to be pretty tough. We'll have to look for some key Baneling hits to deal some big damage to these clumped units if they don't spread out. That may be what he needs to try and do some damage here. Here comes some more roaches. Again, either side has enough, potentially depending on the engagement, to take the actual engagement, but right now InE is still in an economic lead. Both sides on 2 base, but the better saturation going to InE with 41 to 30. And here comes the engagement. Are we going to see a fungal here? We have enough for a fungal on one side. We do. More units streaming out, and this is going heavily in Jiang's favor. InE having to retreat, losing a lot of army there. Supply is about even at 85 to 80, but the army supply much greater in favor of Jiang. However, a few units here moving back to base if he's going to be moving across the map for a counterattack, he's going to have to bring those units. There we go, the units coming. And we do now have the rally point set across the map. A good arc here, and not engaging with all of his units, turns around. Jiang took some unnecessary hits there. We don't have Burrow from either side, I believe. Oh, nope, InE has completed Burrow, my mistake. So that could play a key role. However, there is an Overlord still sitting here despite those Mutalisks getting into play. So he could morph an Overseer, but the actual Burrow could help buy a lot of time. Here comes the push in. Loses one Infestor who was caught out in front. And now turning around. Is he just going to go back home here? Looks like that will be the case. So if we look again, the actual army supply is beginning to even out. So Jiang doing a good job making the comeback here. In terms of upgrades right now, it is +2 for Jiang and 0-0 for InE. So starting to get the tech advantage as well. However, there are Mutalisks over here at the natural. It's going to be very tough to make much use out of those, and I think that may have been a mistake. So Jiang's starting to try and take control pretty even at this point, but I'm liking the composition out of Jiang a bit more. Got the Infestor tech out. Still has one Infestor, not a great count, though, to be sure. Mutas move in, but move within range of the Spore Crawler. A bit of an overreaction there from Jiang, pulling all of his drones away when he couldn't really get within range to do any damage. And the Mutalisk will get out of there. Despite having the Mutalisk on the field, we don't really see any Overlords spread out of InE. All the Overlords sitting around in the main. You could have these spread out all across the map. Jiang has not gone for Mutalisk tech, does not have a Spire. So with that in mind, he could have Overlords pretty much everywhere and have full map vision. Still investing into Mutas, so this is how he wants to go, but with both Hydras and Infestors on the field from his opponent, that's going to be a tough unit composition to make use of. Moving back into the main, though, harassment very important for foregoing Mutalisks, and they will have to see what these are able to do. Moves in, turns around, tries to get a better angle. The Queen looking to escape, not able to get it, not worth moving in. A good choice to move away from those Spore Crawlers. Has to be careful to avoid the fungals. A missed fungal there, but catches the Mutalisk with a fungal. And now all of these Mutalisks going to go down to the Hydralisk fire. And that is a very big catch for Jiang. And the supply really going in favor of Jiang, who's spending his resources much better than his opponent right now. Up to 166 supply to 125, and now finally does have an economic lead in this game, perhaps for the first time in this game. Still on 0-0 from InE throughout this entire game. In the meantime, we have 2-1 out of Jiang, so the unit composition, the economy, and the upgrades all going to Jiang. So this has turned around completely and looking in an excellent position. A lot of Zerglings on the field, but this isn't really going to be what he needs against this Roach-heavy composition, especially with the upgrades, which will allow the Roaches to two-shot these Zerglings. Now a bit supply blocked here is Jiang, but expect to see a move out any time now as Jiang approaches max. The one thing I miss seeing in this game is a bit more scouting. We really haven't seen it in this game. Scouting has pretty much come from when each player's opponent is moved into each other's bases with an attack. Thought we were going to see a move out there, but not quite in the production. Pathogen Glands was never actually made for... Actually, Pathogen Glands is just finishing for InE. So The infestor tech will now be out in time for a push, just barely, as 5 infestors will complete. That could make a big difference, but I'm not sure if it will be enough with Jiang in such a commanding lead. Army supply 150 to 120, much better upgrades. Infestors himself, though only 2, it will be 5 in favor of InE, but this will be a very tough hold. We'll have to see how this goes. Fungals going down across the entire army. Bailey's coming in for big hits. No splitting here, not much of an arc. A bit of an awkward engagement here, but it may just through brute force be Jiang to push through. And it looks like this is going to finally go in the favor of one player. Will the reinforcements be there for InE? Do we have fungals left? No, but we could see some infested tears. Not sure it's going to be enough. The supply tilting heavily in favor of Jiang, 136 to 80 as he moves into the natural. The final infestor goes down. Going to focus down the natural, and that will be a key portion of the economy. And then he has left the game. Jiang takes it in a big comeback from the mid game.